You may know Aja from RuPaul's Drag Race, but the Brooklyn-based rapper is breaking the mold of what it means to be a drag artist in hip-hop. Today, Aja is here to discuss the debut of The Box Office, their new full-length album. Please help us welcome Aja. Woo! Woo! Hey, hey.
Thanks for coming on. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
My way around.
Hello.
Hello, baby.
How are you? Squeeze you in here? Hi.
Yes. We'll do a little exchange. I did it.
We made it.
We're here.
Can we just dance for a second
Let's
to
go.
what we were just listening to? Aja, welcome to the table.
Hi!
We are so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Yes.
This is surreal.
And for such a good reason. I mean, Box Office. Tell us the inspiration behind the album.
Well, I feel like I really just wanted to take control of my narrative and just tell people a little bit more about myself. And what other way to describe yourself than through music and art? Yeah. And I feel like music is one of those places where you can just jot down all your thoughts and emotions and your self-description and just lay it out there for people to see raw or metaphoric. Throw a little shade, a couple shots, and just at the same time embrace who you are on the inside.
Yeah, and I've heard some of your music in the past, and then I checked out just the Jekyll and Hyde, one of the songs, and it definitely hits a little harder. It's a little more rap, hip hop based. So how has your change evolved, or how it will be different on this album?
Well, in May of 2018, I released In My Feelings. It was an EP, and it was I feel more. Of me trying to match the aesthetic I was known for from when I was on television. But when I did Box Office, it was way more about kind of telling the story about where I come from, where I grew up. And girl, I grew up in Bed-Stuy. I grew up in the streets where it was, you kind of had to look both ways when you cross the street and when you walk down the street. You had to look behind you at all times. And now it's different because, gentrification. But, I don't want that to take away from my culture where I grew up. Yeah. So I kind of want to bring a little bit of that urbanness to the forefront where I feel like it's kind of underrepresented, especially in mainstream queer culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And where does the title Box Office come from?
So when I think of Box Office, I think of you're going to a show, you have to buy some tickets, and I wanted it to really be that I was selling tickets to a show of my life. I wanted it to be this is your chance to get to listen to me and what I have to say.
Yeah.
So that's really the inspiration behind it all.
Yeah, I love that.
That's so cool. And as a teenager, you posted your raps on Tumblr, right?
Oh my God, yes.
That is so cool. I love Tumblr, such a great place. So could you tell us kind of how that was for you as a teen to have that outlet?
Well, definitely. I used to make some really, really cringy freestyle raps. And, I felt like I had a lot of funny friends in high school because I would go up to them and be like, girl, listen to this rap I did. And they're like, girl, it's good. But then looking back at it now, I'm like, but it was, I was very into poetry and writing. So ever since I was 14, 15, I just started to let it go. And once I found out how to use a little audio program, I was starting to record myself. And I didn't know how it worked all the way, but let's just say that deep in Tumblr, and I'm not releasing any links, there is an archive of me doing some very, very, very bad rap.
Oh, we will find it.
We're gonna
No! We will find it.
Roll the tape.
Yeah. Actually.
It's blackmail.
Yeah, and so when was the moment that you decided, I'm gonna make this my life, music?
Honestly, music has just always been my life. I feel like even drag came to me through music. I've always wanted to be a dancer, a DJ, a singer, a rapper. I always wanted to write music. I feel like, especially as a person of color, I just live through the drums. In my practice, in my spiritual practice, we're all about a lot of drumming, and that has always resonated with me. So I feel a lot through music. And music kind of saved my life. When you're growing up and you're listening to those songs that help you get through every day, that help you overcome your own emotional problems, that's kind of how it went. Also, I feel like even if I never had this huge, beautiful platform, I would still be doing Box Office. Yeah. It may not be, having the same features and the same, production because I wouldn't be able to afford it, but Box Office would have happened.
Yeah.
in some way.
I
It's
love
in you.
that.
Yeah.
You're so incredibly use your platform to really advocate for issues that you care about. Can you talk to us how it is misogynistic and transphobic when people ask you only to appear in drag?
I feel like, I understand that I, went on television as in a drag competition. So I do understand where people would get that preconceived notion that, that is all I am. But the thing is, as a person who identifies on, as non-binary on the queer spectrum, I just feel more comfortable having the option to present however I want. A lot of people don't realize that drag is entertainment. But to me, this is a life. Like, this is how I live. This is how I present myself. When I'm getting ready to, like, go to a gig or do my music, I'm not thinking of, like, oh, how can I get in drag? I'm thinking, I'm just putting on my makeup and my hair. I'm just getting ready the way that I know how to for this moment. And, it's just part of my trans femme identity.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And last week, Jussie Smollett, actor, Empire artist, who we all love, was the victim of a violent hate crime, which I think has affected all of us in a different way. What is your advice for people in your community to rise above the hate?
I think that right now, especially in our political climate, it is very difficult to be a queer person in America. It's very difficult, and it has always been difficult to be a Black person in America. I think the important thing is to advocate and speak up. And the way that the press ran to Jussie, I think that we should run to every situation like that, especially when it's like a trans Black woman. Because people don't realize, like, so many trans people, especially trans people of color, are dying every day. They're probably dying right now.
Right.
And nobody's covering it, nobody's saying anything. And I think it was very important that Jussie's story got covered because it's a sign that we need to do that more often. Right. We need to speak about it. And of course, it was controversial, opinions, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if bad things are being said. We need to start the conversation.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of covering people of color, I think often drag queens, people of color, drag queens are not covered the same way their white counterparts are covered because of the way the media covers and reacts to everything. What can we do to help change that?
I think that there's this like weird stigma toward people of color and also people who come from maybe like a less privileged background. I think what we should do is really just look at people for who they are. I mean, it sounds so easy to just say and people are not gonna do it, but honestly, like, it doesn't, you don't lose anything just looking at someone as a human being.
Exactly.
You don't lose anything just accepting someone as they choose to be. And in the drag community, like even myself coming up in New York, being someone who grew up in New York, I found that there was a lot of privilege in the scene where a lot of white queens who came from like Nebraska, Kentucky, and all around they would land the gig that you wanted or needed first before you. And as a Brooklyn native, I used to get so sour, so bitter. Like, well, I wanted that gig. I wanted to do that. Like, I want that. And I realized, as a person of color, you have to work so much harder. I just, all I can say is that I wish it was more equal, and all we can do is push to look at it more equal.
Yeah.
And you also recently said something that was really interesting. What are your opinions of possibly women being casted on Drag Race?
I think that, I feel like if the truth is that you're born naked and the rest is drag, quote unquote, then women should be able to compete on Drag Race. But also, look at the women who have pioneered drag, our lovely trans women, should also have a bigger forefront on the show. I would love to see like a future of just beautiful people who really started this art form and took it there. And people don't realize a lot of these trans women who do drag didn't just give up their life and soul to drag, they give up their bodies, they give up their hearts. Like they went through trouble, pain, and suffering to do this art form. And I feel like, damn right, they should have a platform to compete on what is, the Drag Olympics.
I love that. I think you're right.
Yeah.
You're definitely right. I mean, I think it's so important to continue having that conversation, like you said. And they always say it's difficult to hate up close. So I think more people just need to pay attention and talk to each other and listen to your music, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I love
Box
it.
Office, February 7th, iTunes, Spotify, all the zhuzh.
Thank you for joining us, Aja.
No, thank you so much.
And make sure to check out Box Office on February 7th. We'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same table.